Hey everyone, and welcome back to Rebel Rambling. So doing the next one in my preview line, I want to do something different for this one. So I wanted to pick something from Return of the Jedi, since as of this recording, and depending on when you're watching this year is the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. So I wanted to feature something to kind of help celebrate that. And one of my favorite things, because this is definitely one I never had. In fact, before this one, I've never had this, and that is indeed a B-Wing. I've always thought this was one of the more interesting ships that they made for Return of the Jedi because of the way it sort of looked and the way it maneuvers and everything, and I'll cover that in just a second as we get into some of the diagrams and everything. But what I really like was that this was also a ship that from, I believe this is technically still the mold that was created in the 80s, and the way that the cockpit actually rotates. I assume there's probably just weight kind of in the bottom that just kind of keeps it, you know, sort of level. But still a very, very cool feature. As you can see, this is the Power of the Jedi line. Now, there have been several releases. Obviously, there was the original one in the 80s. There was obviously this one, Power of the Jedi. Might have been, I'd have to double check if it says on the box, maybe early 2000s or something. And then there was one in the Legacy Collection. And then I believe there was one in the Vintage Collection that was maybe a store exclusive or something. So there have been a couple releases of the B-Wing. Without further ado, let's take some closer looks at this. As you can see, the packaging on this one is pretty dirty. I think this was in some guy's basement. So the outer package is kind of but honestly, this is obviously not something I'm going to keep packaged. I will be opening it eventually, and because it is kind of in rough shape, I got it for a really, really good price. And the ship inside looks actually really, really good. And one of the reasons why I went with the Power of the Jedi one, actually just one price, I think was the main thing. The Legacy Collection, surprisingly, which is very similar, but it has kind of more, instead of like the bluish markings of this one, it has red, but also doesn't have all those little kind of marks, like those burn marks and some of the dirt wash on it, as it's actually very clean looking, which I didn't like, which is kind of weird because the Legacy Collection usually actually had really great paint jobs. The Vintage Collection, I believe, is very similar to this one. In fact, I think it almost looks the same. It may just have a slightly better paint job, but overall, again, it's the same thing, and I didn't want to pay 3 times as much for that one, just because it is technically part of the Vintage Collection. As you can see, it does come with a pilot. Actually, even says there, includes a Celestin pilot. And he's a good looking pilot. I mean, obviously, you know, Power of the Jedi, so it's a 5 POA kind of thing, but actually it has a pretty good design. Let's see if I can get a little bit closer. It's a little bit more of a closer look at the figure inside. Actually, this is one of the better looking ones from that time period. Although actually there were some really good figures released around then. But sometimes the pilots were kind of iffy, even though obviously his helmet is part of his head. It's not removable or anything. But I think it's actually a really good looking figure. And there were a couple of B-Wing pilots to choose from. And actually recently, let's kind of showcase them real quick. I did actually get this Ninnum figure, which was part of the Legacy Collection. You can see this is also a really good looking figure right there. This does have a little bit more points of articulation. As you can see, B-Wing pilot. So I love my pilots. I love my Rebel pilots. So I definitely wanted to, I definitely have been grabbing a lot, even just for display purposes. But here's just the back, which you can see right there. And obviously it's one of those that also comes with a Build-A-Droid. I wonder if I even have enough pieces to even build a droid. I do have some of these figures, but obviously I have no interest in actually technically building anything, but it might be kind of fun to have it as like bits and pieces for display. And some other figures from the time. Now that Leia, just as a side note, that Slave Leia, I actually do have that figure, or one that's very similar to it. I actually do have that one, as well as the Vintage Collection one, which I lucked out on. But that's a video for another time. I just want to mention it. So there's that figure. Let's get back to the B-Wing, because I absolutely love this thing. Let's take a look also at the box. Let's see. So here's some artwork on the side. We'll get back to the innards in just a second. I think this artwork is more or less the same. Actually, I think the back is also the same, isn't it? Yeah, and the back is basically... Although, actually, I like that image with the Death Star there. And yeah, just a couple more quick shots of the ship inside. This is one that I've never had this one in my life. This is literally the first one, so I can't wait to get this one opened. And this was also part of that line, as I mentioned, I think we like the snow speeders, where, again, they're open, so you can see the thing inside. I think that's one of my only drawbacks with like the vintage collection boxing is you can't see anything inside those. I know it mimics the original box design from the 80s of a lot of stuff. There's something really special about actually seeing, you know, the ship inside. It's got some nice details, you know, mimic like a Rebel floor in the hangar and everything. Sorry, you can really see the dirt and grime there on the outer box. But again, just really, really nice. And the thing that I'm excited to do, of course, is to create my Rebel hangar display. It's not going to mimic any film specifically. It's going to be actually kind of all over the case. So there'll be X-Wings, there'll be this B-Wing, there'll be an A-Wing, there'll be the Snow Speeders, probably the Falcon as well. It'll just be kind of an overall feel of a Rebel hangar. That's a display I can't wait to do. Oh, and I forgot to showcase the back of the box. In fact, let me get this just a little bit closer. So obviously there's the ship, and you can see the wings open up, and you can kind of have it on its side like that, or you can have it upright like it is in the movie where it's flying. And again, the cockpit does, it's probably just weighted on the bottom, but that way it does rotate when you move it, which is really, really cool. And again, it just has a lot of nice features. You know, most of these are carried over from the original 80s mold, but that's perfectly okay. You know, it's kind of thing where it's like, I love that they really play up the cockpit, but I think it's literally just a weighted cockpit. I think that's all it is, but honestly, it is a cool design and something that is very unique. And you can see my Halloween 3 pillow and Creepshow pillow over there, but that's for my other channel mainly. And let's just take a look at these little cards, which I did like that this kind of stuff was included. Just a little extra information on the B-Wing and everything. So this was one that I was really happy when I finally got one. Again, I went through, you know, which one do I get and everything. And I think, honestly, I think I made a good choice. I mean, not just from a financial standpoint, but I think even though this does go back to the Power of the Jedi line, I think it still looks phenomenal. And again, one that I can't wait to display properly. And I will do an A-Wing video coming up too. And that was one I also wanted because that was another one I never had as a kid. So here's the B-Wing, part of my Star Wars collection. If you have any questions about it, let me know. If you have this one or one of the other ones, let me know your thoughts. And let me know if you have any suggestions on display. Now for a hangar, obviously it would probably look similar like this, but I've seen other people display it in flight mode and it looks so good. I just have to figure out how to do that properly if I do want to go that route eventually. So that's it for this video. I always appreciate, you know, reading all the comments and everything. If you kind of stumbled across this channel, please give me a shot. So subscribe, like the video if you can. Trying to grow this channel. Hopefully maybe one day it'll be kind of along the lines of my other channel, which if you're interested in checking out, I do have a link in the description below. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.